dare you?
Okay.
Oh, I said that the devil nigga jeans.
I had to make it a drop. It's just too good.
I'm so glad you did. You know, every time we do another one of these episodes, it feels like it's been like weeks since our last episode. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, and I know that. Yeah, it does, and I'm always like nervous because I'm already gonna like lead this by saying I don't know if I can fill an hour. I think what's been so weird is that like I literally just have not been on Twitter. Like I open it up and I'm just like, ugh.
I'm really proud of you for that.
I just don't. It's weird. It's like the second I get like some sort of distance from any of these things, I just stop using them. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's almost like it's basically like anything that I treat like anything that my addictive personality sort of latches onto. It only takes about 3 days of decompressing and then I'm over it.
You're done. Yeah. You've like explored it to its full extent within 24 hours, and then by the time that 24 hours is up, you are sick of it. You hate it. Mm-hmm. It's disgusting. It makes you vomit. It's that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
That's how you are with most things that you pick up, you know?
Is it?
No, I don't know.
I mean, it kind of is.
That's how you were with me on our first date. You're like, this was fun, but I've learned everything I need to learn.
Yeah, I just threw
I'm never going to see you again.
Cab fare at you and said, get the fuck out of my house, you disgusting whore.
Our first date was not at your house. Mm-mm. No. Yeah, but it was at a bar that I could not legally get into. Allegedly.
And the poor people that worked there that knew me were like, dude, come on.
I know. The older I get, the more I realize that, like, they knew I was under 21. They knew I was fucking 19 years old. Mm-hmm. And I was using a fake, allegedly. What is the statute of limitations on using a fake ID? Am I going to get in trouble?
No.
Wow.
I mean, they'd have to. I don't think you can say that on something like this, but they'd have to actually catch you in the act of doing it. I think like even then it would be like worst case community service.
Oh darn, mm-hmm. Community service.
Right.
Yeah, I'd actually quite enjoy community service. You could volunteer at a soup kitchen, right? You have to pick up trash.
It seems like pick up trash is kind of the common one.
That's fucking gay. I want to do other shit.
I had a friend of mine who he got in trouble with the law and. Basically, they were like, okay, well, you can either do community service for a year or you can go to jail for 2 weeks. He's like, jail.
Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I could live for 2 weeks in jail.
You have a lot of options when those things happen. It's like either, okay, you go to jail, you pay a large amount of money, or you do community service.
Yeah.
2 weeks would be kind of rough, though.
It would be. Maybe a week. A week would be fine. It'd be like a little vacation, a staycation, you know, a little Airbnb. Yeah. I rented out a private cell. Yeah. It's $15 a night.
Yeah. I don't know. Being in jail is a weird one. Having experienced this.
I wouldn't know. So.
Time. You have no concept of time. It's weird.
There's no clock.
It's just impossibly boring.
The lights are always on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, essentially.
Speaking of jail and prison, I've been in One Direction has kept me in a mental prison for the last
10 years.
How many years has it been since they broke up? 5 years?
Yeah.
They broke up 2014? I was in high school. Mm-hmm. When Zayn left, and then I think a year later they disbanded. But tomorrow is their 10-year anniversary of starting. So One Direction.
I like you to get the caveat of starting because I said, can they really be 10 years if they're not a band anymore? It's not an anniversary.
10 years ago on tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd of July, 2010, One Direction was formed by Simon Cowell and his demon colleagues.
That's right. I forgot about that.
On the X Factor, because I think all 5 of them auditioned. I think, that's the history. All 5 of them auditioned.
And none of them were like really talented enough to be a solo artist.
Harry wasn't at the time, but he is now, and the rest are still not. Mm-hmm. they're not.
No.
They're not.
And I think Harry gets a lot of. He's the prettiest, so.
Yeah, I guess so. Mm-hmm. I was a Liam girl back then, though. I liked Liam.
He's very attractive, but very just like you. I've seen a million of him.
He's normal, yeah. He's very normal. But I was very into him back then. Now I'm a hairy girl. Mm-hmm. I'm a hairy girl. But I'm wearing my Harry Styles shirt.
Your 1970s full bush girl for Harry Styles.
But exactly, I'm wearing my Harry Styles shirt in honor of that because they've kept us in a fucking prison in silence. They haven't tweeted in 2 years. The One Direction account.
Yeah, and then so they're making a website that's going to have an archive of all their stuff, right?
Yes, like music videos and like a fan page or something like that.
I bet you $15 is going to be paywalled.
I fucking hope not. That'd be so stupid. That would be so dumb, and I'd be so mad.
I
like,
would love for you to rage online about that.
when
It would
I
make
was
me laugh.
15, I stayed up all night because I lived in France when I was 15. I stayed up all night watching 1D Day. Do you remember what that was? I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast before, but my friend Ree and she came over to my host family's house, stayed the night, and we stayed up until like 4 or 5 in the morning watching 1D Day, which was I think it was a 24-hour live stream with One Direction, or maybe it was 12 hours, but they were doing it in LA, and they would start, I think they started it at, gosh, what time would that be? Like sometime in the morning, and by that time in France, it was like 9 hours later. So we started watching, I think, at 7 p.m. and stayed up until I think 4 a.m. watching.
I think with One Direction, if it was 10 years ago, I was 20 and they were all 15-year-old boys, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna put a lot of effort into this. It might raise a few eyebrows.
That's a shame. I really wish you had gotten more invested. I think we would bond a bit more on One Direction.
Nanoni says Jordan is part of a grooming gang because you're a young child.
Not a young child.
I think it's funny. I think the grooming thing doesn't really apply to gays. I mean, like, yes, if you're like talking to a 15-year-old and waiting until they're 18 to fuck them, that's one thing. But the sample size is smaller, the dating pool is smaller.
It's so it's so interesting because like that Glenn Greenwald thing,
right,
where like they tried to get him on grooming for dating like an 18-year-old in Brazil. It's like fuck you.
Yeah.
But like when you're gay, you have people of all ages hitting on you when you come out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
I was 14 and I had a 50-year-old in my DMs. His name was John or Jim, I forget, but it was some generic name. I won't say his last name, but
John Jim.
It was John Jim. It was like I had like a 50-year-old in my DM saying I was cute, and it's like, oh, thank you, but how do you? I don't know. It just happens. Like I wasn't thinking like, oh, he's a predator. He kind of was, but.
I mean, did he send you any like dick pics or anything?
None.
Then it's fun. It's whatever.
None. But when you're that age, when you reach like 16 as a gay boy, it's like, yeah, I'll just have sex with whoever because I'm dying to express this.
Yeah.
I will literally die before if I cannot express.
And like
this.
it can't really happen organically, at that age. Like, you have to seek something or look for something.
I mean, that's why so many gay people like live out their childhood in their 20s and 30s because they did not get a childhood. They had fucking arrested development, a term that I learned recently, even though I think I already knew what it was.
I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, that phrase.
Your
development
into adulthood, it was arrested. It was, hindered. But I think
retarded development.
It was exactly, your development was retarded.
You're developmentally retarded.
No, that's
it's okay. You can be.
Gay people are developmentally retarded.
Yes.
That is what I'm trying to say.
You faggots are developmentally retarded.
I won't let you go that far.
Well, I already did.
But like when you're in your 20s, and I sort of lashed out, even though I did get to experience my childhood or like my teen years, I sort of lashed out at like 18, 19, right before I met you, just like dating around. And like at 18, I was like, fuck it. I just have to have sex all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't.
So
I didn't really have that option. I just did heroin.
Yeah, that's right. What is the opposite of arrested development? Because heroin sort of propels you right into adulthood.
That's like a I don't know, more of a lining yourself in
big like
big
wrapping
wool
yourself
comforter,
wrapping yourself in bubble wrap and duct tape.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it does to you, but like time moves differently, I imagine.
The drug that made me really double down on believing there is no God.
So like 6 months on heroin probably feels like 8 weeks, time just like fly by.
Time is just of no consequence.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so like you don't notice that it's happening.
You're just like, how do I get more?
Suddenly
this is
I'm
awesome.
26 and still doing heroin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's kind of it.
Ketamine, that one time moves. Ketamine. You think more time has passed and not much time has passed. Ketamine rules. Okay, so One Direction, there was something else you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so I've been getting... I turned off targeted ads both in my Instagram account and in my iOS settings, which you can do. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They'll still...
But a few weeks ago, I know they will. But, so I turned off all of my targeted ads, but I've been getting weird ads from Wish, that awful Chinese... They're Chinese, right? awful Chinese company that sells anything under the sun.
And they make sure to have a bunch of people Wuhan Wees on all your stuff that you're putting on. Yes.
They will sell you a baby vacuum for $8, whatever a baby vacuum is.
Is it something that if you dismember a baby, you can vacuum up its blood? It's like a wet vac. It's a wet shop vac for murdering babies.
They will sell you an 18-inch long corkscrew dildo.
It's a vacuum where you can murder babies because you violated the one-child policy.
That is awful. But that is the exact kind of shit they're advertising to me on Instagram. I was scrolling today and I sent you like 4 or 5 pictures. And it's like, so Wish does this thing where they advertise like 10 items in a row. So you can swipe through and see all the items that they've like selected for you as an ad. My first one, what did I send you? What was my first one?
It was the rotten cake thing.
Yes. So Wish advertised to me a fucking rotted piece of cake or bread in saran wrap for like $3. Actually, I think I can pull it up on my phone because they give you, I think, the exact price.
If you airdrop me some of these things, I can pull them up on the screen.
Yeah, I would love to. Some of them are inappropriate, though. I really should not.
I don't think showing a dildo is a problem because the dildo they advertised to you was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I don't know because I've seen people... Here, I'll send you... Oh, my God. These are 4 things that... Yeah, I'm going to airdrop.
It would take somebody having to report this, and our audience is very small and I think pretty loyal.
That's true. We shouldn't talk about it, though, because YouTube picks up on what we're talking about and self-flags.
Yeah, I'm not terribly concerned with it.
I know, but it's so crazy. So I was watching... so I'm in like an online class, and so we have video lectures. Did you get them?
I haven't yet.
Okay, I'm just going to text them to you. That might be quicker. If you're able to just like drag and drop them.
Yeah.
But so I'm in like an online class and we have video lectures, and YouTube's ability to transcribe what the person is saying is spot on. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the amount
scary.
I think it's like why like when we do like a live thing and then we end up because it ends up becoming a video you can watch later. It takes a long time to process. And then, I speak at a fucking rapid clip and it still gets probably to a 90% accuracy the things that I say. Okay.
Yeah.
Grab this.
It's really, really scary.
So let's grab... Oh my God. So the dildo or the item, whatever you...
That one is just... This is what I got advertised to me on my Instagram.
What even is it? Is it... I mean, so how would that be pleasurable in any kind of way?
So I actually looked this up because I tried to find it after I saw this ad. I'm like, this cannot be fucking real. And it is real. It is an 18-inch long, 1-inch diameter dildo that has like a corkscrew pattern on it. So you can practice stretching out your length, but not your width in your bowels. For people, the caption was for people who want to explore their length capabilities and not their width.
But this wouldn't really do anything other than just you. I mean, you can put that much up your butt and not really have much of an issue.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's like what a colonoscopy is. It's like
that's true. Yeah.
And essentially, this is the length.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that goes
it's called a hosed dildo.
That would feel really unpleasant.
The thing is, like, if I were to do something like that, I would want it to have a girth to it, Yeah. It feels better that way, right?
There's this one is so good.
Oh, yeah, the gland-sucking cyclone device. This sucks the tip of your penis. This is what I'm getting advertised on Instagram.
Yeah, well, I think you're more so outing yourself of what your Google search is.
But, so if that were the case, I would fucking own it, and I will own it. I have been Google searching sex stuff sometimes,
and I think that the next one is the anomaly, so let me grab that one. So we've had two hypersexual things on Wish, and then we have this, which I don't even know what this is.
This is it looks like moldy fucking bread.
Yeah, what
in saran wrap? What is that?
Good
God, what the fuck?
$8.
$8.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. I don't even get what it is. Like, what are they selling?
I don't either. It's so gross, but like, I kind of want to buy it so that I can figure out what exactly they're selling.
DCK Punk says he says I get the same one daily. Which one are you getting? Are you getting the dildo one?
Yeah,
or the glands penis one.
The glands penis.
Rob.
Okay,
then the last one you got actually makes a little bit of sense to me because we've been...
Wait, no. DCK Punk says he got those same ads, as in the same pictures that I got. The same items advertised.
Okay, well, that's good to know. This one made sense to me of something you'd get because, like,
why does that make sense?
Well, because we've
to you?
been looking for gear, I guess, is like the most like PC way of putting, or
Okay,
polite
sure.
way of putting
Well,
it.
that's what I was saying. Like my search
I don't really think this
history
is hot
not
though.
innocent.
I mean, it looks.
No.
It's almost like it's almost like weirdly feminine. Which,
This is a full body mesh suit. Yeah, I agree. It is weirdly feminine.
yeah, I don't know.
It would only look good if you're like fucking muscled out to the T.
But even then, it's like, do I want to cover it with lacy stuff? It's like, I think if you're muscled out to a T, it's like, let's just go fucking hardcore and go latex. But
That's true. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, so that's pretty.
But the thing is, like, if it were, it may have been targeted, but we're seeing here that DCK got the same ads.
Mm-hmm.
He got those same ads, is what he's saying. Those are his words, so he probably saw the same things as me.
Yeah.
So it's not targeted, unless you and I are just looking up the same thing, DCK. But I have my targeted ads turned off. Riddle me this, you know. But
I think it's like almost a symbolic gesture. I don't think it really does anything.
what, riddling me this?
Yes, riddling you that.
But yeah, so like I got these awful Wish ads, and I don't know what to do about them because they keep coming. But it's always something that's obscene. I once got an ad for compression shorts, and they were like a little bit see-through, and you could see his dick on Wish.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awful, just awful stuff.
Yeah.
Just really awful. Wish is like, I said to you, they're demonic. They make everything and they sell everything under the sun for $8, and they take 6 months to ship it to you.
Well, naturally. And then again, it's going to come with Chinese sneezes on it.
Yeah, sure. They always come with.
They're called Chinese kisses, Jordan.
Excuse you.
Okay, so this.
Should we move into more serious stuff?
Yeah, this judge in New Jersey. This story is just so fucking crazy. So when we talked about it on the last podcast, I was like, why does the name Roy Den Hollander sound familiar to me? Like but I'm like, I remember when we were doing it live, I was thinking, it probably just sounds like another name that I know. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a huge ex-Opie and Anthony fag, and I loved that show so much until they fired Anthony, and the thing just kind of fell apart, and you realized how talentless Opie was. But they had him on twice on the show, and then I remember because what it was he was the reason why he came on the show was, even to them, his thing, like he was trying to sue different nightclubs about having ladies' night,
right?
And even to them, who were like, it was a pretty dude-centric radio show, were like, you're gay, you suck, you're annoying. And so Jim Norton, the third chair on the show, trashed him so relentlessly that Roy Den Hollander ended up suing Jim Norton.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
So
that is so bizarre.
Yeah. So so I know who he is. And I remember, like, that was one of my favorite segments because they would have people on occasionally, like authors who wrote dumb books or whatever, and they would just goof on them. Like, as long as they could, while making it seem real. Like, one of my favorite things that Jim Norton used to do would be, he'd ask them, like, here on page 67, you say that men should have the same rights as women when it comes to nightclubs. Now, I want to ask you, if you were to move forward, but while also moving back, and then if you were to push this forward into a legal sense, but it needs to be briefed in a certain way, what would you make of that? And the person would be like, what? And he'd be like, well, let me explain again. And he'd just like give something more convoluted. And this would go on for about 10 minutes. And it just got to the point where the person was, but it would always get to, Opie was the one that always ruined it because he was the hole on that show.
Yeah.
The hole on radio shows. And they kind of came up with it as the one who's like, either the woman who goes, now boys, you start behaving.
That's a hole. Yeah.
Or someone
wait a minute. I don't like the way you're trash talking holes.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just a hole, sir.
Hey, your holes they're elevated above that whole status. But no. So Opie was definitely the hole because, like, there were so many times, like, particularly when Patrice O'Neal was on for hours on edge or on edge edging.
Patrice O'Neal was edging for hours.
Well, they actually had a bit on about that where he'd bring all these glass dildos in a briefcase because he'd go down to Brazil and use them on whores. But anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Patrice ruled. He was the best.
He would use glass dildos on. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah, he was good at that kind of stuff. But anyway, like he would be riffing with Anthony about something about race or whatever because he would be like, Anthony would just admit he's a racist, and it made for like a really interesting conversation with Patrice O'Neal. And then Opie would come in and just stomp on the bit and like ruin it, and it just happened every single time. But anyway, so Roy Den Hollander was on that show, so I was familiar with who he was. And then as this stuff's coming out, it's like, what's unfortunate is that because he was like quote unquote a men's rights activist, you're able to dismiss anything else that's interesting about him, right? It's like because when people on the left primarily see men's rights activists, they can just go like, well, of course he would do this kind of thing. And so, but you found out something interesting is that he went and killed another men's rights activist before he went.
Well, let's catch people up to speed if they don't know exactly what we're talking about. So a few days ago, a judge of New Jersey, of the U.S. like District Court, Esther Salas, her son and her husband were shot. Her son was killed by Roy Den Hollander.
And the husband's still alive, right?
Husband's still alive, but in critical condition. And so the Wednesday, so 7 days ago, she accepted a case that was related to Jeffrey Epstein's ties to.
I can clarify this. So it was a lot. So basically, what happened is that because Deutsche Bank was hiding, were allowing people like Jeffrey Epstein to operate. There was a few different court decisions that ended up being like, hey, you have these people that are either laundering money or participating in illicit activities. And so there was a class action lawsuit so they had to pay a $150 million fine, right, for the stuff they were doing. And then there was a class action lawsuit from investors in Deutsche Bank that were like, hey, we just lost a bunch of fucking money from you guys because you didn't monitor the system. And they only got rid of Jeffrey Epstein's bank, I think 6 months before he got convicted this last time. And so clearly they were fine taking money from anybody no matter how dirty it was. And so, Jeffrey Epstein, I think, is the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, he was somebody that was involved. And then this judge was going to be the one who was taking up the class action lawsuit
against Deutsche Bank.
Exactly.
Yeah. But her son was killed. Her husband was shot. Roy Den Hollander, however, is the one who the main suspect. He was found dead, right?
Well, hang on one second. So DCK Punk says, wasn't he a Trump campaigner too?
I want to talk about
Not
that.
Exactly.
He probably thought he was.
He thought he was, but he was for it. And of course, like anybody who's like in that very like shitty part of men's rights that isn't talking about like, hey, prostate cancer kills the same amount of men as breast cancer kills women, but it has like a tenth of the funding. Like that's important men's rights stuff. Combat veterans, these kinds of things.
But ladies' night, like fucking refocus your attention
onto something that actually is important. Like men's suicides are way higher than women. Like these kinds of things.
The reason that there might be confusion as to whether or not he was a campaigner for Trump is he like filed lawsuits against CNN and MSNBC for like spreading lies about Trump before he got elected, preventing his election. And obviously that's not true. He got elected anyways.
Right.
Regardless of the lies that they were telling on those channels. So we found out that, or very recently they connected Roy Den Hollander to the murder of Mark Angelucci.
Crazy.
Here in California, who is another men's rights activist who was doing the exact same thing as him at the same time. So Mark Angelucci was spearheading like a lawsuit to get women included in selective service
in the draft.
I think he was like representing 2 women or something. I don't know. I think that's what it was, or that's at least what Hollander was doing. He was representing 2 women on the East Coast to do the same thing, to get women included in the draft because they wanted to sign up for selective service. Well, so the connection that Hollander has to Judge Salas is that she was the one who decided whether or not Hollander's case would move to the next level. She decided that it would, but he still killed her. However, if you look on the West Coast, there were no problems with the lawsuit. They were going to go forward with it, representing these women who wanted to sign up for the draft. Angelucci was going to go forward with his because it got approved to move up to the next level. And so I believe, from what I understand from the reports that I've read, Hollander killed Angelucci out of like jealousy, out of rage, because his case was moving forward much more easily than his own here on the East, or there on the East Coast. So he had a motive to kill Angelucci, and then he also had a motive to kill Salas, even though she still approved it to go through.
But he didn't kill her.
Oh, well, I mean, sorry. What I mean is, like, he went to go threaten her, or rather, he was gonna kill her.
My point is,
and
this thing
screwed
is
up,
so fucking weird.
It is very fucking
because okay,
weird.
like
yeah.
let's just be really clear here. He is the perfect patsy, perfect,
Mm.
and this one, if that's the case, this is some kind of patsy situation. It's perfect for him to have had taken the train out here and killed the guy in L.A. and then taken it back there, because then it's like you can now connect that to it and be like, oh, this is some kind of men's rights squabble, jealousy.
Right.
And he was also dying of cancer, which to me says perfect patsy as well. And so it's like, basically it's like, hey, like, you have nothing to live for, let's go and do this. But there's also some really interesting shit I found out when I was looking into him.
Yeah, please tell us. I'm glad you found this.
So Den Hollander had worked as a private investigator for Kroll Associates in Russia. In 1993, he addressed the Kremlin. In March 2000, Den Hollander married a woman he had met in Russia, but the two separated 9 months later. He would later accuse his former wife of having ties to Russian organized crime. So Kroll Associates is interesting, and I had this pulled up on Wikipedia, which I thought was just a really interesting part of what they do. So World Trade Center and Sears Tower security. Kroll were responsible for revamping the security at the World Trade Center after the 1993 Trade Center bombing. They also took responsibility for security at Chicago's Sears Tower following the September 11, 2001 attacks. Just prior to the September 11th attacks, Kroll Incorporated were under the guidance of Jerome Hauer, at the time the managing director of their crisis and consulting management group, hired former FBI special investigator John P. O'Neill, who specialized in the Al-Qaeda network, held responsible for the 1993 bombing, to deal with the security at the World Trade Center complex. O'Neill died in the attacks. So to me,
oh my God.
It's just so like, and this is also,
it goes all the way to the fucking top, dude.
So remember, Roy Hollander worked for Kroll Associates in Russia in '93. He addressed the Kremlin. So capital outflows from the Soviet Union and Russia. In March 1992, the Yeltsin government contacted Kroll Associates to track down and find the Soviet Union prior to August 1991. Posh on the Russian White House. In 1992, First Deputy Prime Minister, fucking Russian name, said last year saw a large-scale privatized by the nomenclatura, privatization by officials to their own personal benefit. Gaidar called the communists and KGB officials criminals, and that a vigorous search for the money trails from state-owned capital had flowed abroad virtually unchecked before the collapse of the Soviet Union in the summer of '91. On March 15, 1992, the Russian government froze all capital outflows from Russia. In April 1992, Kroll Associates began their investigations with Joseph Serio, heading the Kroll Associates efforts in Moscow. Also, Joseph Rossetti, the vice chairman of Kroll Associates, was in Moscow to assist. The Kroll Associates determined that more than $14 billion in 1991 real dollars had been transferred from Switzerland to New York prior to the 1991 Posh. Also, the Communist Party of the former Soviet Union, along with government agencies such as the KGB, had transferred more than $40 billion in 2014 real dollars out of the country. The assets of the some Russian bank were frozen during the investigation. However, numerous transactions occurred to bypass the capital flow restrictions, often with British Barclays Bank in Cyprus, acting a money laundering center for public officials from St. Petersburg and Moscow. According to some other Russian name, the government's chief inspector, many joint stock companies were formed to provide legal means for capital outflows from Russia, such as the Leningrad Association of Joint Ventures and Kolo. Numerous officials became wealthy Russian oligarchs, including numerous former KGB officials, prominent communists such as Oleg Belyakov, and other former communists who headed the party central committee department that dealt with the defense industry, as well as some other Russian name who was the former head of the state television and radio company. Jules Kroll, the head of the Kroll Associates, uncovered thousands of illicit transactions and massive capital outflows. The outflow of capital from the Soviet Union and Russia directly contributed to severe economic conditions in Russia during Boris Yeltsin's second term, leading to its collapse and resulting in the age of Vladimir Putin and the president of Russia. So it is fucking weird that he's in Russia exactly at this time working for Kroll & Associates that investigates money laundering schemes going on at a massive scale.
Yeah.
And then what this judge was, the class action case that's moving forward was to investigate money laundering going through Deutsche Bank.
Yeah.
It is too weird to be a coincidence.
So Deutsche Bank was so their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, to bring it back to him, started, I believe, in 2013 and ended in 2018, which is well after his lawsuit in the 2000s. So they would have known who he was, and they would have monitored his account if they were sane in any way. So Jeffrey Epstein's relationship started in 2013 with them. Over that time, they just completely overlooked, like they were like, whatever, about $6 or $7 million in those 5 years.
Right.
That was just moving in and out of his 40 plus bank accounts at Deutsche Bank. And you want to know where that money was going to, what other banks it was being transferred to. It was a bank in Estonia, and then another bank, which is the FBME, which is the Federal Bank of the Middle East.
Well, naturally, yeah. That's probably why he had a Saudi Arabian passport.
Yeah, and so all of that money, and that also doesn't include the $800,000 in cash withdrawals that he had during those 5 years. They don't know anything about it. They were not paying attention at all to any of these transactions that he had, the dozens of millions of dollars that he was moving around in his 40 bank accounts at Deutsche Bank. Who needs 40 fucking bank accounts, first of all?
Well, I mean, somebody who's laundering money. I mean, it's like, because essentially it's like, you move because like I think you can avoid certain things like capital gains. You can avoid lots of shit by spreading it around to different places. And also then if you're in fear of the government apprehending you, mm-hmm. it'll be difficult for them to seize your assets at the same time because they're all over the fucking place and impossible to trace. Mm-hmm. But it like Deutsche Bank, which is something that is kind of in regular American lexicon, for them to be this corrupt, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, okay, so, and then Barclays too is a huge like credit lending company. But okay, so when we first started talking about this, like before we went live, like is this connection to you from Roy Hollander, is it too weird?
I think it's weird, but I don't think there's enough pointing in the direction that he was like doing so to like end any kind of ribbon or tie to the Epstein case. I think like
I don't think it has. I don't necessarily think, because again, what I'm saying is that like I don't think that this Deutsche Bank thing is bigger than Epstein.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Epstein is somebody who has now like come on their radar as somebody who, like, this fucking bug, man.
Yeah, how did we get it? I don't even know where it came from.
The Deutsche Bank thing is much bigger than Epstein. It's like Epstein is like, dude, I guarantee you, there's probably Sinaloa cartel people on the bank. Like, there is so many different people. Like, because like all Epstein really proves is like now we have somebody out in the open who kind of proves that like, oh, you're willing to overlook horrible crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
If it still makes you a bunch of money, and that's basically what the investors are suing them over now. Of like, we didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know.
I don't know either. It is weird. I think there's enough to say that it's weird, but I don't know if I can. I don't know what did he have to do? What did Hollander in 2020 have to do with Kroll Associates? You know, do you think he was still like trying to do something to protect Russia?
I don't know. I mean, like, because, Gio's making fun of me by saying Maddo would love all this Russia talk. And it's like, it's like, but the thing is that she never talks about shit like this. Like, this is way more interesting. Like, because to her focus is so myopic on Trump. And it's like, mine isn't even on Epstein. It's like, because I've said it at least 4 different times on this, of like, Epstein is this tiny, tiny, tiny thing, part of a massive, massive fucking global conspiracy. Yeah. And so, to me, I don't think that you can work for a company like that's doing what they were doing and ever truly lose a connection with the work you were doing. I think it's impossible. And I think that you're probably tied to them by some sort of oath at that point. Like when you're getting to look into the financial records of Russian oligarchs, you're another level person.
That's true. That's very true.
And so like basically my point with him is it's like, do I think it's more likely than not that he was a patsy? Yes. Yeah. I do.
I think like it's such an easy thing to be like, oh, he was just a men's rights activist who was angry at the judge and his colleague on the West Coast. So that's the thing.
He wrote a manifesto apparently, and I love reading these people's manifestos, so I probably will read it. I'll let you know. But
okay.
Yeah.
I don't love reading them. I think they're just so stupid. It's like, is
I
this
don't know.
really
Chris
where
Dorner's
you...
rocked. I love Chris Dorner's
Okay,
manifesto.
yes, but
And
Chris
so,
Dorner is a dude's rock 2020 icon.
dude, yeah, Chris Dorner
So-
rules. But also, Elliot Rodgers was actually really interesting too, because that's where he got Supreme Gentleman from.
Oh, that's right,
Yes.
Supreme Gentleman.
Mhm.
Yes.
There's lots of gems in them. And again, it's like when there isn't a manifesto, it makes it even more suspicious. Like with Las Vegas, it's like we don't know anything about why he did that. Yeah, of course,
Right.
totally, we don't. So yeah, like I think I don't know, because I again, it's like, you know, child fucking is obviously the problem that's in the forefront for everybody, right? But it's like it's always money.
I was just gonna say,
Always
like,
money.
what is the fuel behind that? And it's money. It's
And the way that you
greed.
can get to the bottom of it is by investigating the bank that allowed illicit activity to let this amount of money to flow through it. I mean, it's so obvious. So I don't know. I hope that she decides to take this on with a fucking vengeance now.
I hope so too.
And so, but again, like what I think's so fascinating about it is like, or I think, you know, originally I had the thought of like, okay, so you killed her, theoretically, like if her husband would have died, you killed her family. So then you have nothing left to take from her. But now I see it as something bigger than that. This now says to anybody who is a judge decides to take cases like this, we will kill your family.
Yeah, and in I think a manifesto of his that, or like, so in his car, they searched his car after they found him, and they found Judge Solis's name. They had a FedEx package in his car with her name on it. They had like a list of other names that included Mark Angelucci and another judge in the same area in New York somewhere, a female judge for something. And so now Governor Cuomo is like protecting her with security around her house or whatever.
Is he going to send her into a nursing home with COVID patients?
Did he do that?
He put COVID patients into nursing homes. That's why his numbers skyrocketed
Christ,
so
what
high.
a fucking idiot.
He's a fucking dumb meatball.
Stupid idiot. But yeah, so this dude, the Dan Hollander, yeah, he had like he had a list of names in his car, but I think it's just too simple, you know? He's a men's rights activist, and he had a vendetta against people. It's like, there's something else here. Something else.
I think, yeah. And well, I think that, like, again, it's like, so one of the biggest cases we have in the country right now is Epstein. Like, beyond, like, and this thing is so, I think that, like, for most people, they understand this is so big. It goes beyond coronavirus. It goes beyond the racial unrest. This is huge, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like victim numbers and whatever else. And so, and also that it could involve world leaders, like all over the world. And so it's more than odd that she takes this case and then he decides to go on his rampage right after she takes it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Did you see what Trump said about Ghislaine?
It was weird.
Yeah, he wishes her well. I'm glad you thought that was weird.
Super
it's
weird.
Fucking weird.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
he absolutely knows her and Prince Andrew's case.
Yeah.
He knows all of that shit.
Yeah.
Why would he feign any kind of ignorance about that?
I don't know. Like my only guess, because I listened to him talking about it, is like he doesn't really want to get involved and is just letting Barr do whatever. But like again, Barr's compromised, so I don't really know. Like again, like I think that I don't have any loyalty to any of these people. So it's like, and I think the only person I like is Tulsi Gabbard. So it's like I really don't like, because nobody has any fucking integrity.
Right. But you would think that he would take this opportunity to be like, oh yeah, she's a child fucker, or like, we need to take down child rapists in the US and worldwide. He would use this as an opportunity to be like, I hate these people. They're awful.
He can't, though.
It's just, I wish
he can't make any, like, I think that, like, what you heard was a stupid person say their stupid words that because he only has about 25 main words in his vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like wish her well, like that's so the way he would talk about it. But it's like he can't say anything incriminating about her because it's an ongoing criminal case. So it's like,
I know.
And I think that like what it felt like to me was definitely like overcorrected it being softballed. But I think that Barr has gone to him and been like, don't say a fucking word about this.
That would make sense, but goddamn, dude. The thing is, like, he absolutely knows that people are trying to implicate him in this whole ordeal. So why wouldn't he be like, I have nothing to do with this? Unless he's thinking, like, maybe I do have something to do with this.
Or like, well, yeah. So that's possibly number one, which I don't think is any less likely than the next one I'm going to say, which is that, like, or he doesn't, and and it's like I don't want to say anything. I don't want to look like Alan Dershowitz, where it's like I'm just dumping so hard on this.
Don't get me started.
That, like, thou doth protest too much, and it makes it seem as if he's implicated. But like, look, like I'm not a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for him. Like this is of no consequence to me. And I find the Epstein thing to be larger than our elections. Like this is huge. And so like, you know, our choices are pants shitting Joe Biden or Trump, and like, but like, and again, and then just fucking crazy Hillary still has the fucking nerve to go and talk about Russia again. She is such a fucking...
She's making, I think, like an HBO or Hulu new documentary called Rodham.
Which is like a revisionist history where she wins.
Where she actually wins.
Yes.
Dude, how fucking awful and boring and gross will that be?
And how masochistic is the American public where they want to stare at this clitoral genital wart? Like, what are we doing anymore? Like, why does she even... Dude, this, like, again, this story is huge. Yeah. And her husband is the most implicated person in this behind Prince Andrew. Like, Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton are the two people that are totally caught up in this. and as a country, she thinks that we want to hear what she has to say. Get the fuck out of here. Like, bitch, go away. You are rich. Like, you are so rich, and you will forever be rich, and your dumb fucking cunt daughter will be rich forever. Go just...
Retire. Get out of here.
Get the fuck out of here, because like, if you want Joe Biden to win, you need to go away.
Yeah.
You are not helping. But, dude, she has the most severe case. Like, dude, everyone wants to say that Trump's a narcissist. She may be worse.
She has terminal narcissism.
Yeah, because I think it's like it's different. Like, she is more calculating and more subversive than he is, obviously. But it's like terminal. It's terminal to the nth degree. And again, like, she is such a terminal narcissist that she doesn't care if she tanks Joe Biden's chances. But again, that fucking pants shitting retard has her on his fucking basement show. So I don't. It's like, again, like, do we, like, the public knows what your husband did. Yeah, we know.
It's obvious.
And so, dude, like, I don't know.
Let's talk about world leaders. So Bernie Sanders led the movement to get the Pentagon budget reduced by 10%, which 10% is $7.4 billion.
Which is nothing for the budget. I mean...
what is the full budget? Is it $740 billion?
I think it's,
Then 10% would have been $74 billion, right, which is a fuck ton of money.
But compared to what the whole thing is.
I know. So to get to the point, like, the House and the Senate approved a $740 billion budget for the Pentagon.
The same people, that say Trump's a dictator, and like, no matter how much they call him a dictator, he's tied to Russia. He's this compromised asset. They are willing to give him as much fucking money as he wants to manufacture weapons to kill brown people. Like, they do not care. They're all craven, fucking rich lunatics.
And it's because they're making money on these deals. It's like... They are in cahoots with these defense contractors.
Dude, Nancy Pelosi's on Raytheon's bill. Like, of course.
I know. And so I think like 23 of the members of the like the Democratic caucus for like
the House Service, like the House Foreign, like, or the one
Foreign Defense or whatever. Yeah, 23 of them voted yes to this bill to reduce it by 10%. But like in total, only like 90 something people in the House voted yes on the bill to reduce it by 10%, and the rest were like, yeah, let's just fucking give them the amount of money that let's vote no against this bill to reduce the budget.
I love the fucking the bootlickers I've seen on Twitter too. They're like, oh, if you cut this amount of money, it'll go to veteran services, and it's like, that's up to them. They can choose to either what they chose to do, and this is Democrats and Republicans, was limit Trump's ability to pull us out of Afghanistan. So how about we get the fuck out of Afghanistan, take all that fucking money and pump it into veteran services?
Dude,
but no,
we need it,
dude.
But yeah, they won't.
They won't. They never will, because what I do appreciate about Trump is that when they asked him about this crazy military spending, he's like, yeah, Saudi Arabia buys our weapons. Sorry, we're arms dealers. Deal with it. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's horrifying, but good to know. But yeah, like, these people, dude, it is so unreal to me how many people, like, elected officials, particularly the fucking Democrats, I think that they make me the most pissed off, because neocons and Republicans have just always done this shit. Like, nothing they do surprises me, but it's like how fucking craven the Democrats are willing to be is it boggles my mind. I mean, like, especially like like, how craven they are doesn't actually surprise me, but more so of like how they're willing to posture themselves in public as like, you know, Black Lives Matter and here's my kente cloth, and it's like, but yeah, go drone strike a fucking
you
wedding.
have the power to be the person that you claim to be on social media and make change, but you will never do it. It's funny, DCK says Kamala and my main crippled Duckworth voted against the bill to reduce the budget.
No, I saw Kamala. I knew I was going to see Harris.
You know who did vote to reduce it is Amy Klobuchar. She's a little bit based, right? She's fucking based.
So I wrote back, hey Donald Trump, the science is on my side, and I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a
blizzard.
Blizzard. So I wrote back, hey Donald Trump,
dude, good for her.
Yeah, I know. I think that's what I read. I saw a tweet about it. I don't know if it's totally true, but yeah. So Kamala and
Tim
Amy
Kaine as well, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Harris didn't surprise me at all. She is like one of the most. She's out of her fucking mind.
Oh, I know.
She's a crazy person. Did you see that interview she did where she was like
her face?
Her face, but also the way she was talking. Let me pull it up.
Yes,
Tulsi broke her.
Oh, I know. She is fucking she's broken. She looked so weird. Yeah, if you can find it, that'd be great.
It's easy. I know what she's talking about, so I can find
it. Which one is Duckworth? Do you know who
Tammy
that is?
Duckworth.
Tammy Duckworth.
I don't know much about her, but I love that. I look up Kamala Harris on YouTube. Kamala Harris clone, Kamala Harris plastic surgery, Kamala Harris Botox, Kamala Harris Meghan McCain.
Yeah, she got a real bad deal.
Let's see.
Well, she probably got a good deal, a cheap Botox surgery. Is that's totally it.
This is it. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my
There
God.
is so much to applaud him for about, as everyone has said, how he lived his truth, how he lived his faith, how he put that faith into action. And we have to remember, yes, it was about Bloody Sunday, and you and I and others were there. That was my last big event before the pandemic, was to be there with John, with you.
Look at her face.
What is going on, dude?
At first I was like, it's just bad lighting, but it is not.
No,
dude.
like something's really going. It's like almost like her lizard skin didn't like fully form.
She just molted.
But just like I want you to just listen to like just how weird she talks.
Edmund Pettus Bridge in March. But let's also remember that John Lewis was the first person to testify in the Senate hearings to get rid of DOMA and to talk about the connection between Loving versus Virginia and the LGBTQ movement for same-sex marriage, and he would talk about love is love. John Lewis was front and center in the fight for immigrant rights, where he talked about how immigrant rights are about civil rights. John Lewis was part of the creation of the George Floyd Justice.
And you know what this is, right? This is her trying to have a PR tour to try to dismantle her horrible record as a California prosecutor. Like,
dude, I mean, like, she's right about Lewis. Like, he was a great dude.
No, of course.
But yeah, she's absolutely trying to do like some damage control.
Because she doesn't get to, she will, like, no black person will look back on her legacy positively.
And when the fuck is Joe Biden going to announce her as VP?
Do you really think it'll be her? It'll be such a mistake.
But I would love for it to be her.
It would be. No, I would too. I would definitely love it. Dude, like, because again, like, I'm in this like really unenviable position of like, I don't want either of them to win, but I want Joe Biden to lose more.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. It's like such a weird position to be in.
I totally get it.
Because
I can't.
And I've talked to friends about this that like really react poorly to me saying this. And I'm like, look, I know the last 4 years have seemed insane, but like I try to ask them, look at how much shit has been dredged up because he's such like Trump is such a like loudmouth retard that he just can't help but just say the shit that's fucked up in the world, and then like if you're paying attention, you're like, good to know. Good to know we spent 700, like, you know, Saudi Arabia bought $100 million in weapons from us. That's really good to know.
The fiscal year budget for the Pentagon is $740 billion. Very good to know.
And it's dependent upon us selling weapons to Saudi Arabia so they can commit a genocide in Yemen. Like, good to know. Like, and also a genocide that's happening in Yemen because we decided to let Hillary Clinton go and turn it into an open slave market. So, like, this shit's all really good to know. Like, basically both sides of our... like, Trump isn't a Republican. Like, he's basically like a center-right Democrat. And so, like, policy-wise, it's not like the way even he handles immigration is further left of even how Obama was handling it when he first got in. So,
and if we're looking at like the records of the like Democrat leaders that we have right now, Nancy Pelosi, they align on 90% of things.
oh, dude, and of course, like all of her fucking script tearing and all of her stupid bullshit. She
It's
still
for
gives him money.
show. Yeah, of course.
Always. Like anytime he asks for money for military, she's there to fucking write the check.
Of
and,
course.
Like
Yeah,
you know,
she signs that check.
Put her
baby.
kente cloth in a fucking box and never look at it again. So she's a real piece of shit.
Yeah. Let's talk about since Kamala Harris wants to talk about LGBT rights and the Black movement. Let's talk about Dr. Francis
Holy
Cress
shit.
Welsing.
Yeah. So
Welsing, is that
so,
what it is?
Yeah. Welsing. Like so.
Welsing. Yeah.
So
Welsing.
we played that Nick Cannon clip the last time where he's talking
Yes.
about like melanated people and all this kind of shit. And he brings up this doctor that he's citing all this evidence from. So he cites
It's the one where we made a point to be like, did he say that right? Because
Right.
he's like Francis Cress Welsing.
So I decided to look into
Francis
her.
Cress Welsing is her name.
I decided to look into her, and then also, so when we're about to explain to you the types of ideas this woman had, it's interesting to keep in mind that the two people that Nick Cannon cited in his thing were this woman and Farrakhan.
Right. And since we talked about it, I was looking up Farrakhan because I wanted to know because I had no idea who that was last episode. But yeah, those are the two people that fucking our Hotep Nick Cannon loved to cite on his own podcast as in the name of the liberation of Black people and the demonization of white people.
Right.
So, do you want to?
Well, you had a great thing that you sent to me the other day. So,
So
actually,
Matthew Quest.
So like the very baseline version of it is that like what she believed was that white people introduced homosexuality into Black communities in order to control the birth rate, and being gay and Black was a form of white supremacy.
Boiled down, that is exactly what she said.
Yeah, but
So-
I think the more elaborated version you had on it
Yes.
is fucking brilliant.
So I found this really great paper that Matthew Quest wrote, and he's like a known libertarian kind of guy, which I'm not a libertarian, but still.
Just their ideology doesn't make much sense in the current moment, but
Yeah.
I think like in a lot of ways, like libertarians be like, get the fuck out of my life, it's none of your business. I like that.
I totally get that. But when it's like, yeah, fuck any person of any age, it's like that's not libertarian.
Well,
That is
also-
predatory.
Yeah, like we don't need government to control roads, the free market, like that kind
That's
of shit.
stupid.
I'm like, yeah.
But so Matthew Quest is this professor at the University of Arkansas, I believe, and he wrote this paper in response to her book, the ISIS papers, I believe. It's spelled ISIS, but it's not ISIS. The ISIS papers, I believe, is what
It's ISIS
what she-
but cuter.
It's ISIS but cute.
It's ISIS but hot.
It's spelled ISIS, but it's pronounced YSSIS.
Okay.
ISIS, I think. She wrote this thing about Afrocentrism, and in it she
Which
describes...
is insane.
I know. In it she describes how white people descended from people in Africa who were born albino, rather than people moving out of Africa into places that were further away from the equator and evolving to not have as much melanin in their skin.
Okay,
You know,
number one, insane.
I know, she's fucking crazy.
And number two, what sucks about this kind of shit is it's like historically, yeah, white people have been fucking savages.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, but again, like to apply that, like what has happened historically into a modern context is you can, but you have to do it really smart when you actually do it. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So Matthew Quest wrote this paper that really just highlighted her views on homosexuality, which is just perfect because her views are like, so she had three things, and I wonder if I'll be able to remember all of them. Like the effeminization of Black men is particularly important in white oppression of Black people because it, like you said, it reduces the birth rate of Black people and further oppresses them. However, Black homosexuality is Black men internalizing that oppression so that they don't produce more Black people because they hate Black people.
Could it be any worse, like of an identity to be a Black gay man?
Dude, honestly, like the machismo in the Latino community is nothing compared to...
But there's quite a bit of
like-
solidarity amongst gay Latinos. Like there is
Yeah,
a pretty
sure.
strong network of that. And in fact, like there's a lot of music that validates it and everything else. But like, this is the uncomfortable conversation to have, in that the black community still fucking hates gay men.
I'm gonna grant like some credit to the drag community, because like there are so many
Black drag queens,
Latino drag queens,
and like honestly, it all kind of
makes
started.
so much sense.
Like, black people really did start drag
did,
culture
of
as we
course.
know it. Like,
and like I don't know if we've shit on it in the past before, but Paris is Burning is an accurate representation.
no, I think it. I mean, it's not a representation of who I am as a gay person, but
I think
it's an important film.
The way that we've shit on it in the past is like white gays who have this sudden realization that black people exist,
Right.
And they watch Paris is Burning, and they're like, oh my god, black people are. They've been so important this whole time.
I think
It's
what's
like,
made it like easy to
yeah,
dismiss
dude.
too is like they talk about like there's a really serious revisionist history of Stonewall and what happened.
Yeah.
And like how like black, they call them trans women. It's like they were like the two women they're talking about were
Like Marsha P. Johnson.
but
And,
they weren't trans. Like they didn't identify as trans even when they died. Like so it was two black trans women, or no, I'm sorry, two black drag queens, and one of them admitted they weren't even there. So
Yeah.
it's like there's a big like it was don't ruin like it was gay men.
Yeah.
It was just stop it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this like Paris is Burning thing, like I think there is credit to that to like help create a community for black and Latino gay men who need some kind of support, some community support, that like kept them alive. A lot of them die, but of course, like I give credit to the drag community because it is so flamboyant and accepting. If they were quiet and like clandestine and like this is a secret club, you can't be a part of it, more black and Latino people would die.
Well, and
black and Latino gay people would die.
I think humor is such an effective tool in moving your message forward. It's
Yeah.
like, and so to have it be, because drag culture became culture, you know what I mean? It was largely black drag queens that did kind of push that forward.
RuPaul hosts the biggest drag show.
Who got called transphobic. So, like, again, it like,
I love that.
And why we started this fucking podcast was like, you fucking bitches are out of goddamn control. Like, enough of your shit. And so, like if you're trying to cancel RuPaul, get the fuck out of here. Like, that person has done more for you than you could ever dream of doing in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And so, like drag culture is not something that I really find funny particularly, like, not something that entertains me, but I will never diminish the importance of what it has accomplished for our rights.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so...
Anyways, Frances Cress Welsing hates gay people.
Yes.
Hates especially gay black men.
It's always gay men.
And bases her whole entire like ideology around like she also doesn't believe that like the feminist perspective is important in black studies. She finds it to be unimportant. Because really what it is the effeminization of black people instead of the feminist part of black people. So she's like so adamantly against black men in prison because it turns them gay.
Dude, that was the craziest one you said.
Okay, so the three things were I have two. I have two on the top of my head, but I don't have the third. So one of them was waiting for a white man to give you food. When you're in prison, if you're a black man in prison, white oppression expresses itself as waiting for a white man to give you food and having sex with other men. That is white oppression when you're in prison, when you're a black man in prison.
Uh-huh.
And she wholeheartedly believes these things. That like...
Well, she's dead now, thank God.
Like, fellas, is it gay to commit crimes and go to prison? That's exactly what she's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God she died in 2015. Fucking rest in piss, as you said.
Rest in piss, bitch.
But she's awful.
So
She's not like a good person to cite if you're trying to be... I mean, if you're trying to be Hotep Nick Cannon, this is the person to cite. But if you're trying to be an actual progressive person, this is somebody you do not trust.
Well, again, I mean, it so goes to show, number one, how stupid he is. Like, and I would have never really, like, you know, look, I don't really care about him shitting on white people. That's not the lane or not the hill at which I choose to die on. I really don't give a shit. Like, and in fact, like in the grand scheme of things, like how powerful is Nick Cannon? Not really. He's not somebody
washed up.
Washed up, number one. Like, dude, he can fucking live forever on that Mariah Carey money. Like, he's fine. And again, like, you had to make your fortune based on the woman you were married to. So, like, he's a fucking loser. I mean, really. And so, I don't really take a loser's perspective all that seriously. And plus, a loser who chooses to quote this fucking psychotic woman in Farrakhan, just dismiss it. It shouldn't even be a blip on your radar. He shouldn't have lost his Viacom thing. Like, this person is clearly mentally ill, and so like he probably. And again, if you're on a network thing, don't have a fucking podcast. Yeah. Don't do it. Like, if you choose to go the network route, like where you're going to be like working for Viacom,
you cannot also be independent.
Nope. And you can't have a fucking podcast. You're going to say some fucking shit about some fucking psychopath, whatever. So.
Yeah. Speaking of mentally ill, we should talk about Kanye because he's in the thumbnail.
And then should we close it on that?
Yeah, sure. That should be fine.
Yeah.
So Kanye, we were wrong about in the last podcast. We said he dropped out. But
well, one of his people that worked on his campaign said
he was dropping out. And he didn't in the 7 days that we said that.
And he said that Harriet Tubman didn't free any slaves.
Yeah, he did a rally. He did his first rally for his presidency.
Which he absolutely did.
Yeah, I know. Dude, like, unbelievable that he would say a fucking idiotic thing like that.
Right.
But still kind of believable because he has bipolar.
Right.
That is known information. They've been very public with that info. Kim Kardashian released a very thoughtful and very sane statement on it. Like,
please don't judge my husband for what he's doing. He's out of his fucking mind.
That is exactly, you put it so precisely, and thank you for that. I just like, that is the most sane thing I've seen about it, because everybody has been saying like he's out of his goddamn mind. He's fucking insane. He's how dare he say this shit? And it's like, he can't fucking help it. He can't help it.
No, and again, it's like I like kind of with like the thing of like people wake up to something and they realize it exists today. Kanye's been doing this shit for years.
Yeah.
For years. And I think largely like his self-inflated importance is why he's been so successful. And so like his mental illness has like definitely been weaponized into making him a fuckload of money. Mm-hmm. And I give him a lot of credit for that.
Imagine being in a boardroom with him and him giving like a pitch for his album, being like, this is the goddamn best album you've ever fucking heard in your life. You'll believe it because he's that convicted to telling you that.
I'm kind of curious to see what happens with this, because I think that mental illness in the black community is not taken as seriously as white people. And so I'm what a fucking good, like, dude, I don't respect the Kardashian family, but what a good wife she is.
Dude, I know. But then Kanye goes out and tweets that her and Chris are white supremacists because they're trying to silence him.
Really?
Yeah, so he deleted this tweet, but he tweeted Kris Jenner and Kim are tweeting statements without his permission, and that is white supremacy.
Oh God.
Which is just absurd.
Well, he'll be quoting Francis Welsing here shortly.
I know. He is out of his goddamn mind, but he has fucking bipolar. Well,
and
he's not on his meds. He's been off his meds since like 2015.
I know.
God damn, dude, when he said he was going to run in 2016.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
God.
There's not much to say about it. I feel bad for her, and
I do too.
My mother, who like works with like mental illness like charities and stuff, she was like, "Did you see that?" She's like, "It makes me so sad." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah. Just imagine what position she's in right now to see like the media just fucking hammering down on him as a mentally ill person. He deserves like the respect and the medical care that he needs to maybe not do this anymore.
On the bright side though, I was thinking like it'll be like to because there were so many events like this that had happened. Like, you know, Charlie Sheen was this hilarious thing to the country, and it's like what I saw was somebody who probably had bipolar, was in a manic state, and was also taking a bunch of cocaine. Like, you saw that's what happens, right? Yeah. So maybe him having this meltdown will be good for the general, like the greater good in some kind of way. But
I hope so.
But I don't know. I'm fucking starving. So.
Oh yeah, me too. Let's bounce.
All right. So I want to let you guys know, DCK Punk has a show on Hard Lens Media. I'll put the channel in the description. I forgot to do it before we started, but I'll put it in the description of this video, and we'll also tweet about it. We're going to go on his show on Saturday. Saturday.
Okay. Sorry.
Saturday.
We will tweet details about this, or rather I will if you're not on. But yeah, check us out.
I mean, I'll be sure to post about it. But Saturday at, I think it's 5 p.m. their time, which is he's in Chicago. I think it's 3 p.m. our time.
Again, more details to come online on our Twitter.
But we're excited about doing it, and it's going to be really fun. And I watched this show he does on there, and they have a bigger audience, so it'll be kind of he's just doing a kindness for us.
It'll be fucking cool. Yeah,
nice,
thank you for having us. We will see you guys then.
Yep.
And then again on Wednesday.
Yep.
Bye everybody.
Hard Lens Media, Brett K. But I'll tweet about it. Adios.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams. How dare you?
Ça front basket.